Okay. Okay. So I usually start these by asking how many of my typing sessions have you seen before?
And I know you do because I watched one a long time ago, well, like a year ago. That's not that long, but a year ago or so, I think. And then I watched two little snippets of one, and in one of them you said that, and I was like, "Oh, I shouldn't be watching these." So then I stopped watching. I'm like, "All right, I'll just wait. I'll just find out what happens."
Okay, cool. Well, it's not necessarily it doesn't necessarily make it easier or harder for me to type somebody if they've watched them. It's just it changes my approach a little bit.
Oh, okay.
All right, so let me start with some SI kind of questions. Can you tell me about a sequence of insignificant events making up your day yesterday? Like I got up, I had some cereal, I went outside or took the dog outside for a walk, stuff like that.
Mhm. Yesterday was Sunday, so we got up, we went to church, we came back to our house, and I'm raising my granddaughter. So her mother, my daughter, stopped over to see her, and we all kind of sat outside, and it was really hot, humid, and gross. And I they all wanted to go swimming in the pool, which is perfect. And so I went back in for a little bit and did some work and watched a few YouTube videos. And then went back
Were
outside, hung out with family.
were there bugs?
No, not too many. I don't, yeah, no, I don't think so. Not during the day usually. If you're outside in the evening, you're gonna get mosquitoes like crazy out here, but no, it wasn't bad.
Okay. Do you ever watch the show Naked and Afraid?
No, I've heard of it, I've seen parts of it, but I'm not okay, I shouldn't say that. I guess I did watch some reality TV, but I'm not a huge reality TV person.
Okay.
So no.
Do you think you'd do well on a survival show where you had to stay outside in the wilderness? Like you know the premise of Naked and Afraid. Would you do
Yeah, yeah.
well as a contestant on Naked and Afraid?
I think I do okay. I mean, I don't have there's some skills that I would like if I was going to go on the show, I would probably prep a little bit, like cuz I don't know how to start a fire with two sticks. I mean, I might want to practice a few things, but
Hmm.
I mean, I think I could figure it out if I had to.
Hmm. Are you somebody who gets annoyed easily by hot or cold weather and or bugs or not bugs?
Not really. I mean, hot weather, but only because not cold weather. I have really thick hair and I live in a state that gets cold in the winter, so I've never who cares. But um summer from when I was a little kid, I used to be outside like all day. So I think I got not heat stroke, but I guess it's heat exhaustion, whatever the one is that's before heat stroke. But I think I got that a couple of times as a kid because I just didn't realize. So I was like dizzy and sweaty and hot. So now the heat affects me. I'm a little bit older. So now the heat affects me when I'm outside. I just start to get a headache and I'm like, oh, I hate this. I'm going to go sit where it's cool for a little bit. And then I can come back out. But if I get a headache, I really got to like do something.
Do you actively hydrate?
No. I mean, yeah, I have a cup with me, but my husband's every once in a while he's like, "Have you been drinking water?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And then I will.
Okay. How many hours of sleep do you need to get a night?
Um, I mean, 7 or 8 is really awesome. I tend to stay up too late, and the summertime is actually kind of nice because my granddaughter doesn't need to go to school, so I can stay up. My perfect schedule in a perfect world would be go to bed at 2 a.m., wake up at 10 a.m. But you're not going to do that when you have a 7-year-old in your life. So my ideal schedule has to be altered slightly. I mean, I can function on 4 hours of sleep, but I don't particularly like it.
Okay. Um, can you remember the last time you went to the supermarket? And can you walk me through your trip there and the things that you got?
Okay. I try to avoid that, by the way, because you can pick up groceries now, which is awesome. But I usually start over in the fruits and vegetables section because that's like the first thing when you walk in. And go through there, usually the bread and the tea. I don't know why they always put bread and tea together, but that's down that aisle. And I go down there and I usually buy relatively the same things.
Okay, but
So,
I'm asking you not about what you usually do, but
okay.
about about specifically your last trip to the market.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Last time you went.
Again, that's going to be a while ago because I haven't been going there. But oh, I know what we did the last time we went. The last time my granddaughter and I went together because we were prepping for a sleepover she was having. So it was irregular stuff. Like it wasn't stuff we normally would get at all, right? So we went and got glow sticks and, silly string and like stuff that you would have at a girl's sleepover party.
Okay. All right. Um, do you have opinions about the public schools, where you are?
I have an opinion. Yeah. I mean, I think they're pretty good. Again, I worked for them as a janitor for several like 7 years. So I mean, I liked the teachers and I think they do a pretty good job.
Okay, cool. Let's see. All right. Can you break down the task of taking out the trash into the optimal number of steps?
And you're just like home garbage can take out trash just in your house.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, well, there's probably only 3, maybe 4 steps. Go to the garbage can, open it. If maybe it's open, grab the bag, pull it out, close it as you walk to the garbage can outside, usually the big toters we have, throw it in. Well, open the toter, throw it in, and close the toter, walk back into the house, and then usually, if it's me, I would put a new bag in the garbage can.
Is
Most
there
everybody else.
somebody in your house who
Yeah.
commits the crime of not
Yeah.
replacing a garbage
Oh, come
bag?
on. Well, I lived with until just recently. I lived with my adult 2 of my adult children. So they were like 20-year-olds. So, yeah, that happened. But nobody else does it. Even my 7-year-old granddaughter, if she took the garbage out, would do that. So she would put a garbage bag in. So whatever.
Okay. Did it bother you when they didn't put a new garbage bag in?
It bothered me when I went to throw garbage in there, usually because I mean I'm cutting up food and stuff, and I'm going to throw it in, and nobody wants to have to fish that back out of there and then clean the garbage can out and then put a bag in. I mean, it's kind of a drag.
Do you clean up as you're cooking, or do you wait till the end to clean up?
I wait till the end because I am a huge mess while I'm cooking food. Like, yeah, I definitely wait till the end and then just clean the whole area off.
Okay. Do you have friends in the local geographical region with whom you regularly stay in contact?
Yeah.
And when do you go meet them like for coffee or things like that?
Sometimes we go to like to their home or and or like sometimes it's more of a play date type situation because they're my friends, but they're also the granddaughter's playmates. So we go to their house and the kids play and we sit
Right,
and talk.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I got you. That's something that my parents did with my daughter, is they had their own grandchildren friends like that.
Yeah, it's cool.
Okay. So are you likely to bring something like a platter of mias when you go?
No, I'm not likely to. I mean, maybe now as I gotten older, I might think about that, but that's a more recent occurrence. And like I'm not good at typing people. I haven't typed people. I've only have people around me who have taken type tests. So my daughter took a type test and she was
I don't think you understood the question.
no, no.
I
Oh, go
asked
ahead. Go ahead.
if you bring with
No,
you like a
no, I'm
platter of
bad at that.
goodies.
I'm bad at remembering to do it. I was gonna say my daughter reminds me. That's the only way it happens. Otherwise, I
Okay.
don't do it.
Okay. So, when you watch TV shows or movies that are just for entertainment, that you're not learning anything from them, what
Mhm.
kind of stuff do you watch?
Usually sci-fi or fantasy. More fantasy than sci-fi, I would guess.
Okay. Do you have any creative outlets like singing, dancing, writing, painting, uh, drawing, anything like that?
Writing. Yeah, writing has been something I've done most of my life.
Okay. Are you telling, how much are you drawing from your own past when you're writing?
I mean, I think a lot. I don't know that you could, maybe some people can escape it. I don't think you can escape it. I can't escape doing that. So, yeah, I guess I do draw from my past or like present experience, really.
Okay. Are you more character driven or plot driven when you write?
Oh, man. That's hard because I think it seems like it's happening at the same time. But the characters, I guess, are very important. I mean, they're both very important, but I think the characters maybe edge the plot out a little bit.
Okay. Can you describe from your writing process, like from concept to execution or however you go?
I usually realize I'm like writing a story in my head because I see it as like a little movie. So I'll be seeing this movie in my head with these characters and I'm like, "Oh, this is like the third day I've thought about this. Maybe this is something I should write down." And then I try to remember I've had teachers who've said things like, "Don't write in your head, write it down." So I'm like, "Okay, I'm going to try to do that." So then I just like make time for it, try to, and
That's
write
sorry.
as much.
I,
No, it's okay.
Rachel's trying to get this fly, and I was just trying to point to her where it was.
You need a cat in there with you to get that for you.
um, okay, so um, what, like, what's initiated the story? Is it some overarching concept uh, this is a world that has a certain kind of magic, or is it some scene? Like I picture a man at a junkyard walking off with something glowing in the mist, or is it a character? Like
Hmm.
I picture this guy who's obsessed with Mia, or something else.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think it starts with a character. I mean, it's like the main character or a character doing something, but I think it's more like my focus in that moment is like, what are they do that character themselves.
Okay. Do you think that the character needs to have a growth arc, like change over the course of the story?
Mm, I mean, yeah, it sounds so boring and like everybody else does, but yeah, they do. At least it feels like when I'm writing it, they do.
Okay, cool. Do you read fiction?
When I have time to, yeah. Like yes, I do. I think I prefer reading fiction when I get a chance.
Like fantasy?
No, see that's no, yeah, movies I'll watch most. No, I guess I do sometimes, but recently, no, not as much. It's more it's like somebody's life story, but it's a fictional life story.
Okay. Do you have streaming services like Netflix or Hulu?
Yeah, we have Netflix. I think we have Hulu too.
Can you describe to me a show you watched on Netflix where you started watching it, you gave it a chance for a while, and then you said, "No, I don't like this. This is dumb." And then why? What it was about it that made it fail?
I'm like super patient with shows. Like I'll just either I'll start watching and then even if it sucks real bad, I'll just do something like fold clothes while it's on or something. So that I mean, if it's like a lifetime type drama, that usually kills it for me. I'll be like, "Oh, I just the acting's bad or whatever." And I might turn it on. I can't remember specific one No, because I probably just left it on, like I said, and did something else, and then it was over, and I was like, wow, I'm really wasted my time on that.
Okay, so what kind of scene in a show makes you go, oh, I don't want to watch that? Is it going to be something where somebody's experiencing physical discomfort? Is it going to be something where somebody's experiencing emotional discomfort? Is it going to be something where somebody's socially awkward? Or can you think of something else that is the kind of
No, it's
scene that makes you go like, oh, I can't watch this?
bad acting.
Bad
If
acting.
it
Okay.
takes me out of the moment, like even if they're going through something, I want to like, feel like I get that from them. And if they're just bad at or the writing is really bad, which I'm suppose I'm extra critical of, I don't know. But if it's really bad, I'm like, oh, that line's just awful. So then I won't like it.
What do you think about Kirsten Dunst? Do you think she's a good actor?
I like her. I just like her. I don't know if I mean, her acting always it felt a little stiff to me, but I didn't really care because I think I just liked her as a person.
I think she only really has one move as an actor, and
Yeah.
it's this.
Right. 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 And you know what? That works sometimes, I guess. I don't know. It worked for me.
Okay, cool. Let me ask you some TI questions. If some bags are yellow and all yellow things are bananas, is it necessarily the case that some bags are bananas?
Yes.
If only dragons fly high in the sky and I am a dragon, is it necessarily the case that I fly high in the sky?
No.
Okay. If today is Monday, what is tomorrow's yesterday's tomorrow?
Okay. Let me see. It's Monday. Tuesday. I don't know if that's right. I hope
No,
it's right.
it's Wednesday.
Oh, dang it. That's so close.
Okay. Who is my mother's husband's only son-in-law in relationship to me?
Okay. So it'd be my great uncle?
No, it's my father.
Would it?
Yeah, my
Father?
mother's
Say it.
mother is grandmother. Her,
Grandmother.
her husband's is
Grandfather.
grandfather. Only son-in-law is his daughter's husband, which is my father.
Oh, only son-in-law. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, cool. What do you think is a more important value or behavior for your significant other to engage in? To speak positive words to you, to affirm in their language, or to be fair, as in every time there's 5 pieces of pizza, they give 2.5 to each person.
Fair.
Okay. And what do you think is a more important value for you to uphold as a partner? This
Same.
same thing? Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you think's well, let me see here. If you're watching a TV show and you're going to yell at somebody for something, as I sometimes yell at people on TV for things, like when I'm watching Naked and Afraid, I'll say things like, "You're pointing the fish trap the wrong way," or "You can't put the leaves on like that." Uh, can you think of something you might say to somebody on the TV?
Oh my gosh, I do it all the time. Yes, probably something similar, or it would be like, why would you say that? Just yelling whatever. Why are you doing that? Stop it. Like in a horror movie, it's like the typical, don't go in there if I'm watching something scary. And then I laugh really loud, apparently. I don't even know that happens, but people have woke up in my house and been like, Mom. So you can tell it's my kids. Or like my husband, he'll be like, "Oh, you must have been watching something funny last night because I heard you laughing." I'm like, "Oh man, I didn't even know I was doing that out loud."
um, do you ever do you ever find yourself saying or thinking that's not appropriate for them to feel something? Or is it somebody's feelings always appropriate?
I don't know that I would say I would think that they're always appropriate. I mean, okay, appropriate for them to feel. I would say they're valid for them to feel. Um, if they're presenting them, you didn't say that, so that's not. I don't think that's what you mean. But if they're presenting them to other people in an inappropriate way, I might think, okay, that's not appropriate. But for them to feel it inside themselves, I don't. That's I think their emotions are valid to them for them.
Okay. How much of a role do you think your own emotions play in your decision making?
I think pretty high, pretty big role.
Okay. Are you more of a team player or more of a free agent?
Free agent for sure.
Okay. And if you were going to go to a party, are you more likely to say, I'm going to be fine. I'm not that fussy. I'm worried about Gene and Bob. They always complain about things. Or are you more likely to say, Gene and Bob can take care of their own feelings. I'm worried about what I might complain about.
Oh, I sound kind of horrible. But but the second one probably most likely. I mean, I'm not really thinking like, oh, I have to protect other people's feelings. I figure if they're going to show up at a party, then they know where they're going.
Okay. Um, let's say you were going on a hike. Are you going to be the person who wants to take more breaks or gets mad at the people who want to take too many breaks?
I guess maybe take breaks. I'm the person who stops to take pictures. So I'm that one. So I guess I'm the one who stops to take breaks because that's essentially stopping.
Okay. Let me ask now for you to take, I'm going to tell you a long sentence,
Hmm.
and I want you to make it into a short summary of it. Okay. If you want to study bears and their cubs and their behavior and stuff in the wild, then you'll need to learn first in the classroom about bears and how they sleep during the wintertime and what they eat and the various habitat in which they live, and then pass some sort of test and perhaps get a job where you can look at bears in the wild.
Okay. If you want to study bear behavior, you're going to have to do some research, pass a test, and then you can study them in the wild.
Okay, that's pretty good. Um, let's play Name My Invention. So I've got a new invention, but I'm terrible at naming my inventions. And the marketing department has asked you to provide a few snappy names to sell it as, okay? My new invention is it's a weather vane that attaches to your hat, and when it detects hurricane conditions, it sets off an alarm that says, warning, hurricane imminent. Warning, hurricane imminent.
Okay.
So,
I mean, the hurricane hat should be it's a alliteration. People love it. So that would be one of my first things. Plus, I could just see the packaging. It can make it terrifying, so people think they need it. So that's the first thing I came up with. But
it turns out that's already taken as a trademark by some
ah,
other company. You have to come up with some more names.
Chinese probably took it. No, just kidding. I don't know. Let's see. Weather vane. So, oh no, I'm not gonna go with double entendres because that can get you in trouble. So, as I was picturing the rooster on the top, and I'm like, no, no. I have to give it some serious thought. See, I'm really trying to sell it, so I'm trying to give it some serious thought, just instead of coming up with something really silly. But, um, I mean, you could get into like calling it like the weather predictor. You could like do a whole thing about how, you're going to be ahead of everybody else because you're going to be able to predict what weather's coming and how you can keep your family safe. So you could call it the weather predictor, go that direction.
The safety future.
Right.
Okay, cool. Now, next, what I would like you to do is what I was just thinking about a second ago, which was what was I just thinking about? Okay, let me pause for a second and gather my thoughts here. All right. Tell me about, please, your relationship with task completion. Do you have a list? Do you check things off of a list? Do you procrastinate or something else?
Well, while you were thinking, I was taking the potatoes I almost forgot about out of the oven, so that's pretty funny. But I don't usually, I mean, like, I have a list. I love checking everything off the list that I've written on the list for the day. I usually, well, for example, we're planning a camping trip, so I'm like trying to get all this food ready and all the stuff done that we need to have done. So I for sure have lists because otherwise I know I'd forget some. So I'm pretty good about if I have a list of things to do, following the list and checking them off and getting the things done. I tend to procrastinate more when it's just fun stuff. And I'll be like, if it's not, I guess, important to me, I would be like, oh, I can do that another time. But if it's something imminent coming up, we're going to go do something, or it's for like the family or whatever, then I make a list and I get it done.
When you wake up in the morning, do you have in your head a few things that are like you have to do today? Like, okay, I've got to remember okay, so today I've got Judy's meow at 1 o'clock, and then I've got to cook dinner, and I've got to meow, and I've got to meow.
Yeah, and like sometimes it'll come to me usually the worst times, it'll come to me right as I'm going to go to sleep. But I've realized the best thing to do is just sit up, write it down, and then I can go to sleep and I can forget about it. But then it's right there and I see it in the morning if I thought of something. So yeah, I usually do. Right when I wake up, I'm usually like, oh, okay, the schedule for the day, let's go.
Okay, after you've had conversations, do you ever relive them in your head, like in the drive away, like re-talk them out in your own head?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes I do.
What's more important to you what do you think is easier for you, to be comfortable emotionally or comfortable physically?
Oh, wow. Okay, comfortable physically, I would say is easier. And I'm with the caveat that I have a chronic thing that makes it hard for me to physically be comfortable. But as much as I can, I think being physically comfortable may be easier in a circumstance than emotionally comfortable.
Okay. How easy is it for you to go to sleep?
Okay, it's easy for me once I get in the bedroom and turn off the light, I go to sleep real quickly. But it's just getting me to stop doing stuff at night to go get in the bedroom and go to sleep. That's the hard part.
Are you a natural stretcher? Like when you get into bed, you go, oh, or are you a willful stretcher? Like you get up in the morning and purposely touch your toes, or neither?
Not really. It's sporadic. So I would say that's not something that happens on a everyday kind of basis. Like I have been known to stretch, but it's not something that happens every day.
Okay. I'm going to ask you some Inky Pinky questions now. Do you know what those are?
No.
All right. So an Inky Pinky is a question where the answer always is a rhyming pair of words. Okay. So I'll give you a clue like hilltop water spout. And I'll tell you it's an Inky Pinky, which means it's 2 syllables each. And the answer is mountain fountain. Because hilltop mountain, and water
Mm-hmm.
spout, fountain. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another example. It's an ink pink, which means each word of the answer is just one syllable. And the clue is roadway flesh. And the answer is street meat.
Oh gosh. Okay, yeah, no. Oh Lord.
Okay, let's try one now, okay?
Okay.
The clue is bunny addiction, and it's an Inky Pinky.
Rabbit habit.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. That never
Now,
happens.
now can you make up one of those for me?
Oh Lord. That like hurt my brain. It's gonna be a long wait. It's just as not how my brain works.
Okay, that's fine. That's information enough. All right. So what do you think it's more important for somebody to be reliable about? Following through on what they say they're going to do, or following through on saying what they're not on what they say they're not going to do?
I mean, both are really important, but maybe saying not doing what they say they're not gonna do, because that's more like like their habits to me, and maybe more like their internal drive or something. I don't know, but that's like where my brain went when you said that.
It seems to me the future is more predictable about what you're not going to do.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody tells you I'm not a drinker, and then you see them at a party and they're drinking, I mean, that says to me would say something about their character in my mind.
Right. Okay, cool. Do you think your own feelings tell you more about what's important to you across the medium or long term? Or do they tell you more about when somebody's crossed your boundaries and what you don't like?
What's important to me?
Okay. Um, so I'm going to ask Rachel to chat with you for a bit,
Oh, cool.
and I'm going to hand her the headphones. I'm going to ask her to, or I'm going to ask you to talk to her about what comprises complications in a relationship that make it like emotionally more than just comfortable, different than comfortable.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
So yeah, so what are some things that make a relationship not comfortable, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he said. For me, and I just had a relationship like this recently, so I can speak from experience. And it was a friend relationship, but it got uncomfortable when the relationship became more like I was a counselor than a friend, and so we weren't enjoying each other's company or doing anything that was like really fun together. It was more like she just came to me. My husband's, in his words, she'd dump on me, but she would come to me and like tell me all her problems and her troubles, which I mean is fine in a relationship with a friend, but she didn't really want to listen to mine, and she didn't really want to um be a part of that part of my life, but she wanted somebody to listen to her problems and her issues and then help her with them, but not do that not respond that way. So that became a problem.
It sounds very one-sided.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What are some things that you look for in friendship?
I think now that I know more about the functions, I guess somebody that's a little bit more of an intuitor sometimes. It tends to be. But I look for somebody who can just have a conversation about just about anything, and maybe go a little bit deeper than just surface level on things. And then You know, I guess kind of like the question previous to this, where there was almost like an evaluating of somebody if they say they're not a drinker or whatever they say, and whatever they tell you they are, that then they are genuine to that is another thing that I really look for in somebody. Usually they're going to be part, generally speaking, most of my friends have become part of my family almost, so they have to kind of get along with my husband and my kids and things, because I'm going to invite them to, you know, events or something, you know, and somebody who wants to be around me and other people that I care about.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense too, because if you have already a network of people who are very close to you and you consider family, it only makes sense that the people that you bring in who are new, you'd want some sort of gelling, at least, like getting along, because it's adding to that family. So that's a big deal. What about a coworker? What are some traits that you look for in a coworker?
I want somebody who's doing their job. I mean, I think that's important. And I laugh because it seems like obvious, but it isn't, like, to everybody, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I want somebody who's doing their job. But then I also want somebody who has a little, like, a sense of humor, maybe about themselves or about the job or about something that might happen there on the job, and that we can have a little banter. I mean, not, you know, just a little joke back and forth, or we can roll our eyes at the boss together, or, you know, that kind of thing, because it just really helps the day to go along more smoothly. So yeah, that helps.
Is sense of humor a big trait that you look for in people? Do you like to laugh?
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I think I'm pretty sarcastic, and I can get I mean, I've been told I've been told I have, like, not, I wouldn't say a dark sense of humor, but I'll say some snarky stuff sometimes. And if somebody, you know, I love it when they pick up on it, and they do it, not in a mean, like, I never do, I don't really like to hurt people's feelings, so I'm not going to be like, oh, you look ugly today, you know. But to, like, have that back and forth kind of banter where you, like, tease each other a little bit or whatever works for me.
Oh, okay. I think Eric is back now.
Okay, well, nice talking to you.
Yes, nice talking to you too.
Okay, can you talk to me about your relationship with buying things? Do you buy things only when you need them, or do you like to shop?
I like to get packages. I don't like to shop, but I like packages, like little presents to come to my door. So I have to really watch what I do with Amazon, because I will, like, go, oh yeah, that's nice, and then I'll order something for myself and I'll get it.
What kind of thing is it? Is it clothing?
I mean, it could be anything, but it is, like, usually, I don't know, clothes are fun, yes, but, like, jewelry, I have a problem with jewelry because I will buy all of it. I like fragrances. I like, oh my gosh. And then if I get on a project, like, right now we're redoing a room, so then I think, oh, well, this would be nice in that room, and this, and, like, decorating it in my mind, and then I'm just buying everything that I think I need for that room. I mean, I guess they're kind of utilitarian, but they're also sort of fun.
Do you have too much stuff?
Not really. I mean, we have a 900 square foot house, so no, because I don't want to not be able to move around. So no, I have to, like, I catch myself if I'm, like, starting to buy stupid things or, like, too many things, and then I'm like, okay, no, we're not going to do that. We're not doing that today. But I still let myself look at them, but I just don't put them in the Amazon cart and buy them. I'm like, I'll save that for later. Put it in the safe for later.
Okay, cool. Do you like to do things like go to estate sales or yard sales or thrift stores?
I like to do that as a social outing, but I wouldn't probably go by myself unless there's, like, something specific I'm absolutely looking for, like a piece of furniture that I really, really want to get a good deal on by doing that. But even then, I think I'd rather just do it, like, as a fun thing with somebody, like go with a friend.
Okay. Do you think that people perceive you as more extroverted than you are, exactly as extroverted as you are, or more introverted than you are?
This is going to sound like I'm schizophrenic, but both more introverted and more extroverted. I've had both. Like I've had some people will tell me, "Oh, you're so bubbly," and blah blah blah, and I'm just like, "Really?" Because I didn't feel that at the time. And then like I've also had people ask me when I'm just sitting there and perfectly enjoying something, be like, "Are you bored? Are you mad?" And I'm like, no, I'm just not like I'm not expressing anything on my face at the moment, you know. I'm just sitting here enjoying it.
Okay, cool. All right. So how long have you known about typology?
I took 20, oh my gosh, how many years? 20 years? Maybe 30 years, because I took the original Myers-Briggs paper test back in the 90s.
Okay.
I mean, I guess that's typology.
And so did you have like, do you watch videos on YouTube about it?
I have, yeah. I've watched a couple of different people I kind of follow, and I think they're interesting.
Okay, cool. Have you ever been typed before by any person?
Yes.
Okay. And is it just a matter of sort of intellectual curiosity, or do you find typology useful in some way?
Both. I mean, I'm intellectually curious about it because I've always liked like psychology. I've read psychology books just for fun sometimes, like, you know, in my 20s and 30s, and even when I was raising kids. So it's interesting, but it's also useful because, you know, you learn stuff about people that you know in your life and your friends, presuming they're typing correctly, which is of course always up in the air, but
Right.
you know.
Okay. Can you offer me some solutions to the problem of plastics in the ocean?
Wow. Well, my brain just went off on a tangent and started thinking about how we just have to not make as many plastics. I don't know if that's a pretty succinct solution, but it's not going to get rid of the ones that are already there.
That's true.
um uh, so yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, people bring up solutions all the time, but it seems like they're never really like implemented enough to actually do something significant. So I don't. Yeah, it's not a field I've been super interested in before, except for trying to get rid of my own plastics and not buy as many or use as many.
Okay, cool. Can you talk to me about just thinking, oh, right. Let's play World Mic Power. So you've got the mic for 30 seconds and you've got to tell the world some advice, and it's going to get translated into every language and broadcast into everybody's ears. What do you have to tell the world?
It's terrifying. Wow. I would probably get on a religious soapbox and I would say that belief in a higher power will help you through your life and make your life more livable and make you kinder to other people, which will make life in general more livable. And, you know, I would keep on going with that. Pretty much that would be my message.
Okay, cool. Let's see here. Oh, right. Where do you think a person's worth comes from?
I don't know that it comes from anywhere. I guess I've always thought people had an intrinsic worth, but I don't know. I never really thought like where that worth comes from. I mean, I could say God imbued them, if people believed in God, that imbued them with a soul, and therefore he gave them a worth because he feels they're worthwhile or they're worth something. But I don't. I would say I don't know. That would be my answer to that question. I don't know.
Okay. If you get mad at yourself for something small, what kind of thing might it be? For example, for me, it's if I knock over a drink or I leave something dumb in the path where I walk.
Yeah. Usually, oh, I was just telling my husband about this. Usually for me, it's like I'll think I'm thinking proactively, so I will move something over. Like, I don't know if it's in the fridge. Let's just use the refrigerator as an example. I'll move a container in the refrigerator over because I'm like, well, later on, when I go in here to make dinner, I'm going to need these other things in the back. And then not 2 minutes later, I'll be like, oh, wait a minute, I got to get something out of the fridge. And then that thing that I just moved is in my way. I'm like, why did I do that? Why? I don't know. But yeah.
What about when you have interacted with other people and you're upset at yourself afterwards for interacting poorly with those people? What kind of mistake did you make?
Usually it's speaking my mind about what they should just do with their lives. Because like I can see it so plainly. Why can't they see it? And then I'll just tell them. And then I'm like, oh my God, that wasn't even my place. And that wasn't received well because it wasn't even the right time to say it. So I don't be
Okay,
mad at myself.
like, you mean you're likely to say, like, well, you just need to like, what's an example of a piece of advice you might have?
Okay. I have a friend who her boyfriend's going into rehab, and she's like, was very sad about him going, thought it was good, but was sad about him going. And every day she was talking to me and saying, I just don't know what to do. He's gone. He's gone. I don't know what to do. And I said, well, you could work on yourself. And I'm like, oh, dang, that came out a little too forcefully. But I'm like, you could go to, and then I tried to soften it. And I'm like, you go to, Al-Anon meetings or like, all these other things. It would help you to get healthier while he's gone. But by then, just because the way I said it, the way I just blurted, you could do something, she was kind of like, oh, I'm like, oh, dang it.
Okay, so then you felt mad at yourself because you weren't careful enough with her feelings, or what?
Yes, absolutely. Because I know because she was feeling pretty rough. She was crying about it and upset. And I'm like, well, just fix it. That's not, that doesn't help.
Okay, cool. And if you don't can you talk to me about some sort of public figure that, or even a character in a movie that you don't respect and why?
A specific one or just in general? I can tell you like what I usually don't respect.
Okay, well, sure. Let's start there.
Okay, what I usually don't respect is somebody that takes advantage of other people, as kind of that car salesman, kind of slimy character who just, doesn't, kind of convinces the older people to like spend their money and then rips them off, or, just this kind of nefarious, the salesman personality that always does it for me, like in movies too. Somebody's really braggy and like just thinks they're the greatest and is doing so much for people and whatever, and then you find out that they're like ripping people off.
Okay. Okay, let's see. Let me chat with Rachel for a moment and see where I want to go from here. I'm gonna mute us for a second.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me a story from your childhood, maybe where you went somewhere with your parents and It was memorable for some reason.
Sure. My parents and I often went on big vacation trips. So we went one time to, I always get the Dakotas confused, so I don't know which one it was. And we did them as like a circuit. So we went through North Dakota, South Dakota, we'd go to Montana. It was one of those three. Again, I was like 7 or 8, so I don't know. But the one trip we went on when we were out west, we went, we stayed in these like cabins, which was very cool because I didn't get to stay in cabins as a child very often. So we stayed in this really cool cabin. There was mountains all around us, and we went walking. And I remember we went hiking. Actually, my dad loved to hike. So we went hiking, and I remember the person when we were leaving telling us to be careful of like the glacier area because you don't want to fall in. That's bad. So my parents were really like, "Oh, be careful." But it was really cool because we walked up, and it was summertime, so it was warm. We're dressed like in shorts, and we went up into these mountains, and there's like snow. It was very neat as a kid because that never had occurred to me that like it could be 70 out and there'd be snow on the ground. So I like went over and like picked it up, and I'd be careful because you don't want to fall into a chasm. Cool. But my parents probably they didn't seem to care. So I went over and I took a bunch of the snow, and I was like playing with it, and a little impromptu snowball fight, and it was like 70, and I was wearing like a tank top and shorts. So I thought that was very, very cool, and it was beautiful because we were up in the mountains, and
Okay, cool. And now I want you to think about your most recent vacation you've been on and what the single most memorable moment of that vacation was.
My husband and I, this was last year, but we went to, this is going to feel like it's a flashback because it kind of is. We went to South Dakota because he's seen my family pictures, and oh my gosh, I didn't even know it was that beautiful. Whatever, we should go. And okay, so but we went with the camper this time. So we had the camper set up in South Dakota, and we were staying in this area that neither one of us knew about, so we didn't know this would happen. But this big wind just came out of nowhere, and it like everything was flying. We had to like batten the hatches and like get inside the camper. And then we were in the camper, my husband, myself, and my granddaughter, and we're all standing in there like almost like spread eagle, like we're holding the sides of the camper because we're just like, what's gonna happen? And then the whole camper went boom, boom, like to the back and forth, and we were like, holy cow. And we were fine. Everything was fine. Nothing even significant blew away. But we got out, and then we're like kind of shaken. And these other people that were camping around there too came out, and we're like, oh my gosh. And they're like, oh yeah, it does that every night here. And we're like, oh no. Well, at least we were prepared.
That's great. That's great. Okay. So I will tell you what type I believe you to be, and then we'll see what you think you were coming in or what you've been typed before. I think you are an ISFJ.
Oh, cool.
What have you been typed as before?
Well, this is interesting. I'll tell you what I tested as first for all those many, many, many years. And again, the original Myers-Briggs test was given to me in college, believe it or not. And then also when I started my first job, they gave it to me again. And I always tested as an INTJ. And except for once, I tested as an ENTJ. But otherwise, it was always INTJ, INTJ. Then the internet came along, and I took the test online, and I tested as an INTJ. And I was like, well, whatever. Because that's what I always tested as, so it didn't excite me. And then I believe I've tested on the 16 personalities one, which I hear everybody says trash, but I tested on that one as an INFJ once, and I was like, I don't think so. And then I tested again every other time I tested as an INTJ, and I was like, okay, whatever. So then I got tested by someone, and they said I was an ENFP. And I said, okay, that's interesting. So then I went back and I thought, well, the only thing I could kind of see that made sense there was the possibly TEFI. I don't know. And I was like, that might be it. And, but again, the intuitive part was like so extrovert from introverted to extroverted is like, that's a kind of a big jump. So I was like, I don't know. And I thought I'll get a second opinion. So here I am.
Okay. Well, I can tell you, you're definitely not an INTJ, and you're almost certainly an ISFJ. Here's what I tested. Here are the sort of concrete tests that I got from you, which are your TI is very consistent with what you'd expect for a third slot. Although all I can really tell with the TI test is 1 or 2, 7, or something else. You're something else, okay? Your TE polar test, I asked you the optimal number of steps to take the trash out. You said 3 or 4, and then you proceeded to list like 10 steps. Okay, so that's consistent with TE polar, which is you've got very little sense of ordinality. Ordinality meaning how many steps it takes to get, how many steps to break something into. And then I asked you another TE question, which was about plastics in the ocean, and you displayed again a sort of TE polarish kind of response to it, which is the INTJs are TE in the tool function. Now your NI is pretty good. When I asked you to summarize that sentence, you did a pretty good job of including all the elements and summarizing it. But you're not NI because, in part because if you look at your response to the world mic question, there was a lack of clear concision of concept that would simply be executed as a sentence, which you'd expect from an INTJ. Rachel concluded from talking to you that you've got a lot of FE, and I concluded the same thing independently. Now, it's not something I exactly tested for, but it comes through in your communication style throughout that you seem to be actually feeling. And when you talk about the kind of thing that mistake you might make in a social interaction, that's a very FE frame of reference, the way you approach that question. Additionally, your relationship with SE is very consistent with 5th slot, especially ISFJ. I used to date an ISFJ for a couple of years, and my mom's an ISFJ as well. And your approach to the day is very SI front stack, as are your ability to recount these detailed stories from your past. No NIDOM would be so capable of recounting so much detail and so many examples and so much reference to one's own experience. That's something SI front stack people like you and me can do that NI front stack people just don't do. So I feel quite confident in the typing of ISFJ.
Okay. I mean, that's totally news to me, so I'll have to go like research and figure out what that means. I just gotta take that in, I guess. But so that's interesting to me because, and again, typing by a self-test, so I don't know how accurate, but my husband has been typed himself as an ESFP, and I was like, that was interesting to me. I mean, and they said that like if you do, maybe I don't know how true this is, but I've heard that if an SE Dom or somebody with a lot of SE tests that way, even on the tests that are online, there's a good chance they probably are, because those tests are skewed towards people being more like, intuitives, I guess. So I was like,
well,
okay.
Listen, if you ask him the same kind of TI questions I asked you, like some bags are yellow, all yellow things are bananas, or some bags necessarily bananas. If he gets those questions right, then he's not an ESFP.
No, he hates those kinds of questions.
Okay, well, then he may very well have himself typed correctly.
He's always like, because we've been, I work at schoolwork and stuff with my granddaughter, and he hates that stuff. He's always like, I don't know what that means, and he walks away. So
okay,
maybe
he probably has himself typed correctly then. Okay, that sounds like TI polar, and if he self-identifies if he identifies with the SE stuff, then probably he is an ESFP.
Well, that would make a lot more sense. The reason I say that is because they say that the best, not that, again, internet, but still, they say the best matches are always like, what, ISTJ, or is it maybe ISFJ? I don't know. There's an IS something that's supposed to be with them. And I'm like, how did I get there?
ISFJ and ESFP is not a bad match at all. Okay. It's in my opinion, the quote unquote ideal match would be ESTP, but ESFP, the key thing is the dominant of each person the core thing that they respect in the world is the other person's dominant function. So like SE and SI DOMs going together, it works well because they each fundamentally respect each other. Just like NI and NE DOM fundamentally respect each other. And they're like, one person's throwing the kind of ball the other person wants to catch.
Oh, good. No, that works.
Yeah.
That works for me. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm gonna have to think about that because like it was so weird already going from being like literally my whole life. I didn't have a huge interest in it before, so it wasn't like I was dwelling on it every day. But I did have like in the back of my head when people brought up personality type, I was like, oh, I'm an INTJ. Okay, whatever. But then to go from that to an ENFP, I'm like, okay, that's a different person.
Well, let me tell you, if I'm right about if this is all correct, then probably when you have problems with your husband, when you get mad at him, it's because you say you're being unfair and trying to sell me on some unfairness that is still unfair, no matter how you want to pitch it to me.
Yeah, or he, yes, that does happen. And in conjunction to that, what also happens is he and I have completely different political viewpoints. So he will absorb a lot of stuff from his political viewpoint while he's like driving or listening to the radio, whatever. He'll come in and try to tell me the new truth that he's learned. And I'm just like, what? Did you listen to anything?
ESFP?
I'm like, did you learn anything else? Did you listen to any other station? And then he gets mad at me because I'll say, was it? And I'll name the station he always listens to. Is that what you were listening to? And he's like, well, and then he gets all mad. I'm like, oh, just like have a few more sources.
Okay, well, yeah. The thing is, you want to get paid off in life by being correct. And he wants to get paid off in life by figuring out how to solve problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when he comes in with fourth slot NI and the new truth of the day, as you say, that's going to run afoul of your ability to be correct about things, because it's going to be, you're trying to figure out what's actually correct, and he keeps thinking truth is instrumental.
All right. Somebody gave me the advice to just go to him and say like, and I don't know how this would work with the personality that I have, but to go to him and try to get him to see how people were affected by that truth, because that might, not really heartstrings, but it might kind of get him to like see that there's more to it than just that one nugget of information that he has.
You should direct his attention to solving concrete problems rather than knowing about grand realities, because that's not where ESFPs are going to be successful, but they do like to hang out there.
Yeah. That's always that. Oh, and then and this is maybe also why we work in some ways, is because ESFPs do have a tendency to like know that some future thing is coming, aka the camping trip, and and not really plan for that all that much, and then at the last minute realize, oh, we might need LP stuff for the camping trip, we might need to clean out things for the camping trip, and oh, I'm going to be gone for the rest of the week, can you take care of that? That happens frequently because he's just like, oh, okay, yeah, that'll happen, it'll all fall into place, and I'm like, okay, how do you think that happens? It's magic. It's just magic.
Okay, well, that's where it comes into that follow through on what you say you're going to do versus follow through on what you say you're not going to do. ESFPs like to avoid saying what they're not going to do.
Oh yeah, yes. Yeah, and he and my I have the other reason that I picked you as the second opinion was that I have, and I think he is like the classic ENTP, but I have an ENTP son, and I mean, he and I get along really well, actually, but we would both, and I'm sure my husband was so annoyed by this, but he and I would sit in the kitchen when he would come home with these new truths of his, and my ENTP son would just, as you do, ask him these logical questions about it and be like, well, what if this happens then? And he'd be like, well, he'd start getting frustrated because he's like, I don't know. And then I'd be like, but then did you maybe think of, and I'd give him something else, and then he'd just get frustrated with both of us and leave.
Well, as somebody who grew up with an ISFJ mom, I can tell you it's a delightful relationship in one's childhood and stuff. It's like I greatly enjoyed when I got to be kind of too rebellious as a teenager. My mom kind of was like, okay, that's enough, you know. But I felt so well loved my whole childhood
Oh,
by
that's
my
cool.
mother, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you have a wonderful relationship with your ENTP son as well.
Yeah. Yeah. He's the one I go to if I need to know stuff. Like if I want to brainstorm something, or mostly I just want him to cut through my BS. If I'm like thinking a bunch of stuff, I'll go to him and be like, okay, which one of these makes sense? And then he'll tell me what it is, and I'm like, okay. And then I'll leave. So
All right. Well, that's fantastic. So I'm going to stop this recording. It will share it independently with each of us privately. Are you comfortable with me publishing it, or do you want me to just leave it private?
Sure. No, you can publish it if you want.
All right, cool. So it'll go up sometime today.
Okay, cool.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Have a good